It is time now for Back Pages Tonight, right here on Sky Sports News, bringing you a first look at the sports stories in the morning's newspapers. And joining us are the Times chief sports reporter Martin Ziegler and the Daily Mail reporter Ihsan Khan. Welcome along to you both, chaps. We'll hear from you shortly, but let's quickly run you through the back pages as we have them. Well, the Times lead with the Ashes and a rallying cry from England captain Ben Stokes. Let's make history, he says. They also carry the news that Henry Slade and Elliot Daly are two of England's 6 changes to face Argentina this weekend. So looking to the autumn series clean sweep. The Guardian also splashing on the Ashes. Create our own history. Stokes challenges England to end away Ashes drought. Yeah, last time was 2010-11, wasn't it? They also carry the news that Steve Clarke hopes Scotland's euphoric win inspires the next generation. And they also have Women's Champions League news. German Lessen Wolfsburg hit 5 as United endure first loss in Europe. Arsenal, remember, beat Real Madrid after coming from behind. The Telegraph also lead with the Ashes. This is your golden chance, England. Do not blow it. Ashes glory is there for the taking, writes Michael Vaughan, former England captain. The Sun's back page carries the headline, Freedom. Amram, vote of confidence firing Manchester United revival, talking about when Jim Ratcliffe wanted to judge him after 3 years in the job. And with the North London derby looming this weekend, an exclusive interview with former Arsenal midfielder Gilberto Silva, who says Arteta's done his bit. Now Arsenal need to deliver. The Eye also lead with the Ashes. Stokes desperate to lead England to glory in Australia. They feature Scotland keeper Craig Gordon as well, who says, I have chased this dream for 20 odd years. Gordon, who turns 43 on Hogmanay. All right, welcome along once again to Martin and to Ihsan. We're going to start obviously with the Ashes. We're going to start off with your paper, Martin. And in the Times, well, Captain Ben Stokes wants to be one of England's lucky few, as he puts it, to have won in Australia. Just to put this in context, in the past 100 years, 6 men have managed it. Only 2 of those, Douglas Jardine and Ray Illingworth, did so whilst burdened with a disadvantage, as Stokes is of now, of not arriving as Ashes holders. Remember when it was Andrew Strauss in 2011, England had already won the Ashes in 2009, so they came holding the little urn and wanting to take it back to England, which indeed they did. So, Martin, how do you feel, Stokes has sort of set this up? Because he's clearly fit and ready to go, recover from that torn shoulder. But what did you make of the way he was declaiming today?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting and quite a strong, powerful, emotional rallying cry. I thought the language he was using was sort of almost harking back to those who had made history in the past. And it is a burden because it's such an advantage if you're already the holders of the Ashes. You only need to draw the series in order to take them home again. So it's a really, really big challenge. Andrew Strauss was the last England captain to do it, I think 2010, 2011, but England were the holders then. And Stokes, he's coming into this on the back of a 4-0 drubbing the last time that England went to Australia and had a terrible time, didn't they? So, this is a different team completely. Things have changed a lot. I don't think Australia are going to be comfortable with the Bazball approach. If England go for that, I think that might pose Australia some challenges. So, it's definitely going to be one of the most exciting starts in Ashes series I can remember for a long time. And Stokes is doing his very best to talk it up and make it as exciting as it can be.
You mentioned harking back to sort of, the other captains who've done it. In The Guardian, create our own history. Stokes challenges England to end away Ashes drought. I also wonder, Ihsan, when it comes to this particular rivalry and having, as you put it, Martin, you have to win this series. So that will involve, Ihsan, England having to take 20 wickets in a match, probably twice, if not 3 times. Now with the pace bowlers, particularly the pace bowlers they have in their attack, can you see them doing that?
Well, most pundits and observers tip England as favourites to go over there and win the series. But if we look at it, if we take the microscope out and look at it from a wider lens, either way, it's not an easy task. The last time England won a test in Australia was 2011. That's 14 years ago since they've won a single test on Australian shore. So even though England have the players to do this, it'll still be a difficult task. Of course, the way to go about this from an England perspective is start well, win the first test, and build momentum from there. And they're going to try and do that with a ferocious pace attack. This isn't a typical lineup of England bowlers of seaming the ball, trying to seam and swing the ball. It's a quartet of bowlers who can hit 90 miles per hour plus. But within that, there's obviously the various factors of Mark Wood. He's not played a first class match since August. He's obviously had that warm up game before the series, but even then he had that hamstring scare. Archer's come through a series of stress fractures. So both them bowlers, it's inconceivable to see both of them play all 5 tests. So how England manage their bowlers will be a big factor in this series. And of course, Ben Stokes himself, it's been at least a year, I think a year or two since he's completed a full test series because of injury. So how he manages his workload and with the bowling and the batting, that's going to be a big factor too. But England do have the players to do this and go to Australia and make a real statement starting in this first test.
And in this first test, we know that Australia are lacking 2 bowlers, Martin, who between them have taken 600 odd test wickets. The seven England batters, obviously we include Stokes and Jamie Smith in that. Seems like it was always set that way. The only question was Pope or Bethel, wasn't it? But that got resolved in the sort of the warm-up game when Pope scored well. So, I mean, how much do you feel that they are going to be under pressure without those 2, pinging it down at 90 miles an hour as well?
Yeah, I think that definitely works in England's favour. I don't think you can't on the importance of home advantage. I think actually Perth is a good place to start for England, but maybe not quite as intense as some of the other challenges they're going to have. But I also think this is perhaps the best prepared Ashes squad that England have taken for many years. I think Strauss's was probably one of the key to his success. It just seemed they were very well prepared. I mean, for example, like Ben Duckett, he turned down playing in the IPL and the lucrative contract he was offered then because he wanted to focus entirely on the Ashes and didn't want to be distracted or arrive in Australia feeling like exhausted or burned out. And although the England's bowlers have had their injury problems, and as Azan says, Wood hasn't played since August. I would think that could actually help them. It could be a bit fresher. So it's I just can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to seeing it all start, because I think it's going to be a real thriller of the series.
I really hope so. We always knew that this year was set up that way, given what happened with India in the summer. And, what a thrilling series that was. Well, it's really set the bar high. But you know how it is with the way Ashes, Martin. You've gone there, but we all have that feeling of trepidation when we open our phone apps on the morning after, when players finish over there and you're there going, oh, what's happened? But hopefully this time around, from an England point of view, well, they've got a better outcome. Of course, do check your Sky Sports app on your Friday morning to see how England have done after day 1 in Perth. Let's go to the Sun, shall we? Sir Jim has given me my freedom. Amrin, vote of confidence firing Manchester United revival. Isan, this is to do with the interview that Sir Jim Ratcliffe gave, where he said that Ruben Amrin should be judged after 3 years in charge. He's actually approaching the anniversary of his first game in charge. How significant a factor do you feel that has been, that sort of very clear vote of confidence, ostensibly, from Sir Jim Ratcliffe in terms of Manchester United's upturn in form recently?
Well, I think the word revival being used here is doing a lot of heavy lifting after just going unbeaten in 5 games. If you look in them 5 games, for example, with the Liverpool match, I think Liverpool hit the frame, I think, about 3 times. And then you look at the games against Spurs and Forest, where they had to get late goals to rescue their team. Against Brighton second half, there was shaking potentially there for the taking. So if you look within them 5 games, Manchester United haven't been to the strengths that you would think there. To say a page or con has been turned I think it's far too early to say that. There's still clear problems within this team. It was only a few weeks ago where many people were saying that Ruben Amorim's job was uncertain. So for a few weeks to go by and things to have all suddenly gone perfect, I can't see that. Of course, Manchester United are improving. There is a certain direction of travel. They have got better over the last few weeks. The victory against Liverpool was an important one and one that was very much needed. But after 5 games, it's far too early to say about a corner being turned.
Yeah, I mean, they have conceded goals in those games. In fact, they've conceded 2 goals in each of the last 3 games, 2 of which have finished as 2-2 draws. And looking ahead, Martin, I mean, if the corner is definitely to have been turned, Everton at home, Palace away, tricky, West Ham at home, Wolves away. I mean, what do you make of that sort of little cluster of fixtures as we head towards the Christmas period for United to try and continue this momentum as we come out of the international break?
Yeah, I don't think they're too challenging, really. I think they're avoiding some of the really big hitters, aren't they? I actually think they have turned a corner, and I think the Liverpool match was key to that. I know Liverpool have been having their own struggles as well, but and as Izan says, they can perhaps curse their luck a bit, but. When it's almost a joke, isn't it? The owner's dreaded or the chairman's dreaded vote of confidence. It normally means the manager's like heading for the exit door. But I actually think it has worked in this case, and that it's taken the pressure off. And I think it's not just the manager, Ruben Amorim. I think it's players feeling under the pressure, and I think just that release of the pressure probably does help. And they can, means they focus a bit more on training. They're a bit less tense on the pitch, maybe relax a bit, start playing properly. And we've seen, they've been struggling for goals. That hasn't been an issue in the last few games. You're right. Letting them in still is a problem, and that's something they probably need to address and work on in these forthcoming fixtures. But I would be surprised if they, if at the end of this little run, it's back to being a sort of, total crisis mode again. I think they'll continue to do quite well.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, those fixtures that I quoted before, you've got to kind of go a little bit further ahead before you've got a Manchester derby, and that is well into the new year. So maybe this is the time. This is the time to really to crack on with the intensity that Ruben Amorim has been speaking of. Okay, thank you for the moment, gents. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at more of the sports stories in the morning's newspapers, including a look ahead to this weekend's North London derby, live on Sky Sports, in the Sun, an exclusive interview with former Arsenal midfielder Gilberto. Arteta's done his bit. Now Arsenal need to deliver. We're back in a couple of minutes. An Arsenal invincible and the 2002 World Cup winner with Brazil, Gilberto Silva, who says that Arteta has done his bit and now Arsenal need to deliver. How are they going to deliver, Martin, when they haven't got, anything like a full-strength defence ahead of the game against Tottenham?
Well, I was speaking to one club chief executive from a Premier League side, not one of those two today, who said in his opinion, Arsenal had got their second 11 was better than many teams in the bottom half of the Premier League table. So, and he just thinks that their team strengthening they've done over the last 18 months just puts them in a position that they can cope with these absences now. And I think this will be very much the proof of the pudding in the eating, because if Gabriel is injured, Calafiori is injured, then those are two really big misses for, they've been so strong this the season so far. So it will be a test, but they have got the players who can come in. That's for sure. And it's a long time, isn't it, since some Spurs have bested Arsenal, so I'm sure they will be hoping that these absences could be key, but I think they'll be up against it, even if it is replacements instead of those two.
Where do you think, Issam, where do you think Spurs can do Arsenal damage? I mean, taking absolutely Martin's point, the depth of the squad now at Arsenal is that much greater. But, Tottenham just are one of those teams, aren't they, that you're never quite sure which Tottenham is going to turn up on the day, and they have been typically, for them, hot and cold in recent weeks.
Well, for Spurs, the key area for them will be having a tight defence in light of the injuries Arsenal have. Obviously, they've got the ones at the back, both in the front line. They're missing Kai Havertz and Gyökeres, who may not be available for this game, particularly Havertz. He's very, very unlikely to be out. Gyökeres might return. So without that firepower up front, with a tight Spurs back line, Mickey van der Ven, he's obviously good at utilising set pieces, scored 2 from set piece against Everton. So they have that set piece threat there. But just going back to Martin's point on the squad depth Arsenal have, in a way, this injury to Gabriel, it epitomises what Arsenal have become. Because if you look at 3 seasons ago, it was William Saliba's back injury which derailed the title bid. Last season, Kai Havertz's injury, I think around January, February time, that derailed their title bid again. So it's always been injuries that have been a major factor as to why Arsenal have not got to where they have wanted to. But this time around, because of the sheer depth which Arteta, and particularly Andrea Berta, has utilised in this past summer, they've got the reinforcements there. You've got a player like Pierre Hincapié, for example, an invincible with Bayer Leverkusen, you can't even get into the team. You've got Christian Mosquera, who, for example, when he came on in the second half against Liverpool, stepped up and seamlessly slotted in. So the fact that Gabriel, who is an immense threat from set piece, an absolute leader in the team, the fact that you've got players who can just step in place of him and not particularly drop the standard to a significant level, that just shows you how strong this Arsenal team is, particularly that back line.
That's one of the big games this weekend. And of course, we've just come out of this international break. England clinching that fully 100%, not a single goal conceded, perfect campaign. But one man who hasn't figured, with England for a while is Cole Palmer. Matt Law's done a piece on him in the Telegraph. His plan for a Chelsea and England return, including how he comes out of Chelsea, maybe just his physique, just getting a bit bigger, staying involved, having that big game mentality and making up for lost time. Martin, do you sense that this is the mark of a maturing player who recognises this is a real opportunity for him to try and get into that England squad if he takes those steps? How do you see it?
Yeah, because his career has stalled slightly, hasn't it? Just before the last Euros, it seemed like the world was at his feet. He was playing brilliantly. Came up doing well for England, and then it went. Then last season he went through some tough patches, didn't he? The goals dried up, and then now he's been affected by injury. So it was a really interesting piece by Matt Law, actually, that he is determined to seize this opportunity for the World Cup. And I actually thought this thing about sort of bulking up and becoming a bit more muscly was interesting, because he's actually quite a tall player, but I don't think you notice it because he's so slim. And I think if you can add a bit of muscle to add to, give him a bit more strength, because his skill and his technical abilities are sort of unquestioned. But if you can just get a bit more physical, I think that could be really important. So, and I think England, they've done very well when he's not been there in the qualifying campaign, haven't they? But at the same time, you'd love to have Cole Palmer as an option, wouldn't you? If he's firing at his very best, that would just be for Thomas Tuchel. That he could be a really important player.
Yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, so many important contributions. You could see his quality off the bench with England in the last major tournament. I wonder, I mean, he's clearly not going to necessarily turn into Adama Traore overnight, Cole Palmer, but I wonder if he did have that extra little bit of physicality in that bulk, could that give him a little bit of a USP over the other England forwards in those sort of areas, and just give him that X factor in his game that makes him, really just part of the plans, or at least make the manager think, I need someone like that?
Potentially, but you just got to look at the goals and assists from the start of 2024 compared to the other number 10s that England, obviously Bellingham, Foden and Rodgers. He's got more than Rodgers and Foden and the same amount of Bellingham, having played 13 fewer games. So he's had that consistency in the last 2 seasons, and he's amongst the best in this country if he is fit enough ahead of the World Cup, and he is in even just half decent form. He definitely should be on that plane. We've seen what he's done in the past. He steps up in the big moments. The most memorable one being coming off that bench in the Euros final to equalise against Spain. So his talent is there, and as I say, he can step up in big moments, and Tuchel likes flair players such as him.
Let's spend just the last couple of minutes talking about Scotland, because it's the story that is, it's brilliant, isn't it? We saw the goals and the scenes last night. Now this is kind of like, the morning after the night before. And looking at The Guardian, Clark hopes euphoric win inspires next generation. Do you think, Martin, that being part of the World Cup for the first time in 28 years can really have that galvanising effect on football in Scotland? And when you look at the states of Rangers and Celtic right now, maybe it needs this kind of, little, injection.
I think it definitely does need it. And I think Scottish football has suffered because the national team has been absent from major tournaments so often. And, the World Cup, I think 1998 was the last one. And it definitely has an effect. And, if the Football Association, the SFA is not having success with the national team, that affects the sort of what they can spend on development. And it's vital getting the academy structure in place, bringing young players in, developing your own. That helps the club game as well. And they've actually got a really good, I think, that they've got the makings of a really good side now, Scotland. They've got a very good midfield, an experienced, ageing backline. And so I think they really deserve that win. Although it was a bit of a struggle. It was some amazing goals. I think one of the craziest matches I've seen for a long time. It was brilliant, and I just so happy for the country because the fans are so sort of passionate and long suffering. But now at least they've got a chance to, as somebody put it, to have Buckfast at Tiffany's.
Yes, we've seen that one a couple of times in the last 24 hours. Really, really quickly from you, Hassan, about 30 seconds if you can. That page of Martin's paper, The Times, Scotland's special contribution, Tartan Army's passion, fun and colour will make World Cup better. I mean, this is the thing, they're going to bring so much fun to this tournament, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's a Scottish travel agency firm that's already pricing packages up to New York for, I think, £2,600 for 3 nights in New York. So, yeah, and how well deserved it is. 28 years absence from the World Cup. It's a massive coup. Big credit to Steve Clarke as well, and I'm sure it'll be one big part in one that's well deserved. It was only last month where they were beating Belarus 2-1 and the team were getting booed. So they've gone from that to finish top of the group.
You know what they say, no Scotland, no party. We're going to have to call it a day. Thank you very much indeed, Martin and Isan. If you missed any of the show, another chance to see Back Pages tonight, hour. It's also available as a podcast. Just download Back Pages, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your pods. Plenty more on the Ashes. Starts on Friday morning. Ben Stokes fit and firing and giving that rallying cry.